Good
Good morning. Oh, sorry, Anita. Go ahead.
good morning, good afternoon to you all. So glad to see this number on the webinar. I'm more than happy to welcome you because today we are having a very special webinar in case because we are going to have an expert roundtable with short impulse talks and open discussions on the topic how AI has influenced hacking in the previous year. Also, we are going to present you what are the key takeaways, key points that every cybersecurity specialist should focus when it comes to defense. Now, before we jump and start the webinar, there are a few house rules. All the names are anonymous. In case you have any questions, you feel free to use the QA box or use the chat, and we are going to reply as soon as possible. As well, keep in mind that in the last 15 minutes, we are going to have an open discussion where we want to hear your questions. Now, everybody knows that nobody likes those long intros, so we will skip right to the webinar. I would like first to welcome Ulrich Hustert. He is one of the CEOs of IM CyberSec. Hi, Uli.
Hello, thank you, Anita, and hello to everyone. And yeah, I'm glad that so many people actually joined this roundtable discussion here today with our five experts, and we come to that in a short minute of time. Just for those new and don't know us, I am CyberSec. I wanted to give a little introduction of ourselves, and then we jump straight into the topic. I think we have a lot of things to discuss, and I'm excited. One fun fact, actually. So we have quite a lot of people registered for this webinar, and I went through that we actually have people from 12 different countries joining today. Yeah, so
Wow.
this is like a big one. So this shows me how important this topic is for everyone. Yeah, so I hope everyone can see my screen. So let me don't waste too much time and jump to the next slide. I want to give you a little background of, well, yeah, now I'm jumping too far. I want to give a little bit of background who we are before we start. So for many of you, you know us already for a couple of years. But you might have realized that our name and logo changed. So we recently, beginning of January, went through a name change from Software Factory to IM CyberSec. And why did we do that? Because we wanted to reflect more of what we're actually doing right now. When we started 2017, our focus was really on endpoint management and software packaging, patching, and all that. So the name Software Factory as building software packages made sense back then. Now, over the years, we expanded our focus more and more into cybersecurity, endpoint security. So we thought it is time to also reflect that in our company name. So we cover about 260 customers across Europe, and yeah, we are specialized, as I said, in endpoint management, IT security. We're offering trainings, implementation services, and also specialized tailored customization all around your solution with integration using API database access, and we're using middleware to connect different kind of solution together. So this is our focus. This is our bread and butter business, and yeah, we are a partner with Quest, Action1, Huntress, and also KnowBe4. So, and today I'm happy to introduce Action1 and Huntress here to this call. And with that, Anita, I give it back to you.
Absolutely. So just as I mentioned, today we have some excellent experts uh, as speakers. So those are all technical engineers with, don't, if I'm correct, with over 15 and some over 20 years. So from IM CyberSec, we have a CEO, Peter Dorfer, and we have Rafael DeVos. So probably those two names are already familiar to you. As well, we have Phil McGowan from Huntress, and also Action1 join us with Mustafa Aydin and Sebastian Jekyll. So I wouldn't take it any longer. So let's start our webinar. So Peter Dorfer, welcome.
Good morning to everybody, or good afternoon, wherever you are.
Absolutely. Glad that we grabbed the chance to talk a little bit more. Now, you are in IM CyberSec for over 8 years, and also behind that, you have lots of years of experience in defending endpoints, endpoint management, but also other technical segments. And since AI developed, and currently AI is definitely one of the popular topics. So besides the phishing, the deepfake, and everything that everybody knows, can you tell me what changed in the last year or two due to AI from an attacker's perspective?
Well, I mean, in the last couple of years, we've seen significant advancements in AI that have, let's say, fundamentally changed landscape of cyber attacks. It's a lot easier nowadays for even kind of newbie hackers to incorporate AI elements or use AI into their tools. So the utilities, they learn from previous attacks and adapt their strategies. It's also nowadays relatively simple to throw data at some AI and have it analyzed. So simple example, you're asking about data for a person, let's say a CEO of a company. So AI uses a lot of different sources to gather the data and gives you in a very short time a quick summary of that. And what we also see, you already mentioned deepfakes. So a common attack is to call somebody from accounting asking to release a bank transfer. In the past, people recognized the voice was different, but now you can use deepfake technologies, even in videos, video calls to fake or impersonate another person.
I completely agree. So we know that developing AI isn't a simple task, but is it easy maybe for the hackers to hack with AI, or is it more difficult?
It already started many years ago that the sophisticated hackers offered their tools and sold them actually to others. Now it has become a lot more user-friendly because they also use AI. You can create a lot more variations of viruses or Trojans or whatever. Before you had to do that manually, now AI can do that for you. You can get pre-packaged attacks, basically whole tool sets you can buy or even get for free. And the methodologies they use for attacks are a lot more sophisticated due to AI.
So it sounds like it has become very easy for them. And from your experience, where do you see AI is used the most in hacking? Is it phishing, exploit research, automation, or post exploitation?
Basically in all areas. A couple of years ago, phishing email was relatively easy to detect, just looking at grammatical errors. The recipient was not addressed with his name. That has changed. So nowadays, phishing emails, they look perfect. The grammar is okay. There are no spelling errors. So that's definitely one area where AI is used a lot. Also for exploit research, attackers can use AI to analyze potential systems a lot quicker using AI tools. And also, as mentioned previously, in automation, hackers they in the past, they ran like scans on the internet and they had to analyze the data. Nowadays, they can use AI to analyze the data a lot more quickly.
Mhm. Interesting. And from what you saw, what's the typical business impact you see? Is it ransomware? Is it data theft or disruption? What has it? What are the changes?
Again, in all three areas that you just mentioned, ransomware is pretty obvious. A customer hidden by a ransomware attack notice at some point access to data is lost, data is encrypted. Just recently, there was a warning in the news that actually one hacker group, they ran ransomware attacks, and due to an error in their code, they lost the encryption key. So in the news, they warned warned potential victims to not pay the ransom. And that this is a typical example. I mean, they haven't written the code themselves. They use some AI, and AI also makes some errors. In my opinion, more dangerous thing is data theft, because customers do not, or victims do not recognize straight away that data was stolen. That typically goes on for a longer time. The hackers, they retrieve data, and the victims don't recognize that. And even if they pay a ransom or whatever to get the data back, it's always a copy that you get back. You never get the full data. So even if you pay, there's a high risk of the data being abused, sold to somebody else, to competitors, or used for some other things. In Germany, we've also recently seen disruption of service. The website of Deutsche Bahn was down. Bookings couldn't be done anymore through the website or through the app for almost 2 days.
That's a long period.
They haven't lost any data, they said, but that cost them a lot because customers couldn't buy any tickets. So that's also a very common thing. Also, even non-profit organization like Caritas in Germany was hit by attacks recently, and their website and their services were disrupted.
Understand. Now I have a question. If AI accelerates exploitation, what's the control that can reduce the risk faster? Because, for example, 2 days without buying the tickets is quite a hit.
I would suggest kind of a three-step approach, or three measures that have been proven to help in those situations. And some you can even go back to the Middle Age. Like in the Middle Age, you had a fortress, you had some soldiers as lookouts. It's nice to have soldiers as lookouts, but if the ordinary people also look out for attacks, you can detect them a lot easier. And that's where awareness training comes into place. Awareness training is not a topic for today, but it helps a lot if ordinary employees are careful and report potential issues. Also, coming back to the Middle Age, you had a fortress with kind of an outer wall, and you had one main gate. Now, if the main gate was broken and the intruders came into the main gate, they could move in your fortress. So, but if you segment your inner fortress into separate areas, they cannot move sideways. So even if they break in at some point, they cannot move freely and find new targets and new ways, basically, to attack more systems. So network segmentation is one of the measures that help a lot. And then absolutely incident response is very important, because even if you have minor incidents, you need to respond, and that's where, for example, Huntress comes into play. even simple attacks are detected and countermeasures are taken quite often automatically, but you need some response plan when an attack is not a simple attack, when it's a more severe attack. What are you doing? Are you isolating systems? Are you shutting down segments? So that plan must be in place. When an attack hits, you don't have the time to work out a plan.
So yes, we both can definitely agree the general situation has definitely become worse with AI. Before the AI, we only had the skilled attackers, but now we also have the lower skill with lots of help of AI. Peter, thank you so much. I would now move forward to Phil. Phil comes from Huntress. That is a EDR solution, and as they like to call themselves, they are threat hunters. Now, I would like to dive a little bit deeper into the hacking a segment together with AI. Phil, welcome.
Good morning, Anita. Many thanks for having myself and Huntress today.
Phil, pleasure is ours. So, I would like to know a little bit more. So can you tell me from your real world investigation, how do attackers today actually get into the systems? And how does AI help them to do it faster? Can you maybe mention 3 most common initial access methods you saw from your experience?
That's a very good question. So hunting for attackers is within our DNA at Huntress. We send thousands of incident reports each month to partners like yourselves. And we're always paying close attention to, I guess, the exact question you just asked, Anita. What's the initial access method? How do the attackers get into the environment, get access to the company devices? So we have a lot of data actually to answer that question. And I'd say that the 3 most common initial access methods we see are exploitation of RDP, remote desktop protocol, as number 1. Number 2, we have VPNs being exploited. And number 3, it's other public-facing systems like email, like FTP. So I'll kind of briefly walk through each of those. If you first think about RDP, remote desktop protocol, it's not a new technology. I think in the IT industry, we've been using RDP to remotely access systems for years and years. But it's got a bit of a bad rap in the cyber industry because remote desktop protocol, sometimes as cyber professionals, we call it ransomware deployment protocol, right? Because the attackers are exploiting it. And many times what they're doing is actually just logging into systems, right? If it's a leaked credential, if they know the credentials and there's not a multiple factor of authentication set up for that RDP login, the attacker can simply log in, or they can brute force the credentials, right? It's just a series of many guesses and then that they're within the system. So definitely be wary of RDP. We see that being exploited. But also be wary of VPNs. Again, we need to be able to remotely access systems, for their normal use. So we see a lot of VPNs out there. Unfortunately, attackers are exploiting those as well, many times by, again, having access to the credentials, or they phish the credentials, and then they can simply log in. We actually see that more commonly than attackers, I guess, exploiting vulnerabilities within the VPN software. Like the vulnerabilities exist, but attackers like an easy life. They like to just log in. And then the 3rd example I had was really other publicly exposed services. So email as a great example, right? Attackers are leveraging email to, again, get inside your network.
And how do AI-driven attacks adapt in real time to bypass defenses like EDS, CPS, or EDR tools?
We do see that a bit. We see different levels of sophistication with the use of AI. Sometimes it's just assisting the attacker to operate at scale. So automating their processes for things like reconnaissance, for things like identifying vulnerable targets, doing that at scale. But we also see more sophistication for the kinds of things your question mentioned there, Anita, right? So by bypassing, or at least attempting to bypass, the security controls that are in place. So I'll give you an example, right? There are some clever pieces of software that can be generated by AI that will first look to see if they're running within a sandbox. before they actually execute anything malicious. So they're sandbox aware. So that way they can bypass that particular control by not revealing themselves to be malicious when they're inside a sandbox, but once they're in a real environment, they can see they're in a real environment, and then they can execute the malicious code. We also see attempts, could be adaptive attempts by AI to try and disable or otherwise impede, uninstall security software like endpoint detection and response.
So far, when hackers is doing that, he manually needs to type the code or modify the code. Is AI able to assist in automatically generating or modifying malware to evade the detection systems?
Absolutely, yes. If the question is, can AI be used to generate code? Yes, we are seeing that more and more each day. And let's remember, malware is just malicious code at the end of the day. So, yeah, absolutely, all sorts of different malware can be generated by AI very rapidly. I think of all the use cases we have in our world for AI, I think the generation of code is the one that's perhaps being the most rapidly adopted for both good and also for evil. And yes, absolutely, if I'm an attacker, if I'm prompting an AI to create some code, I want to create that code in a way that it's going to be aware of the security controls, looking to bypass and get around those.
Now, here's a very interesting question. Now, something that we really like about Huntress is that you have a 24/7 human SOC team. Now, when a hack happens, sometimes it happens during our shift, maybe after the shift, or even worse, during the weekends. So can you maybe tell me what happens in the first 10 to 30 minutes when hackers are in?
Again, this is something that fascinates us, right? When the attacker gets access, what do they do next? And we absolutely do see trends. We try to think like an attacker, right? We try to think like a hacker. If I'm a hacker, I've got access to a system. The first thing I want to understand is, well, what system have I initially got access to? Where have I landed on the network? What else can I see? So we tend to see rapid enumeration of the network, things like port scanning, the attacker trying to find that lay of the land. And pretty quickly from there, within a matter of minutes, the attacker is then going to be attempting to move laterally. Again, putting yourself in that attacker's shoe, they want to increase the blast radius of their attack, right? Increase the damage they can do. It increases the chance that they get paid something like a ransom they'll probably ultimately ask for. So absolutely, yes, they're trying to move laterally. They're also trying to escalate privileges, again, with that goal of doing maximum damage. If they can access a more privileged account within the environment, they'll have access to more privileged systems, more sort of data to steal and encrypt. So the attacker's looking to do all of that very quickly. The other thing the attacker will be mindful of, if they are any good as an attacker, they will look to establish persistence within the environment. So you might see things installed by attackers. You might see all sorts of suspicious auto runs, scheduled tasks start appearing. So the attacker maintains their access to your systems. And this is things that we can now look for with our defensive controls, right? We can start to detect, is there anything unusual running that is that, we call it persistence or a foothold the attacker has put in place.
Okay, now I would ask this in the name of all the attendees. So if actually, when the intruder is discovered, what is the best first step to do to be protected and to protect the company? So will it be maybe to isolate the host or kill the process, or maybe even to reset credentials? What should we do in that situation?
I would say that the first one you mentioned there, isolate the host, is the top of the priority list. We consider this a containment action. There may be other containment actions, but really what we're looking to do is contain the threat first of all. So the attacker is probably not standing in front of your computer with physical access. They probably have a remote access. So if you can isolate the host, you're removing the attacker's remote access to your system. So you are stopping the attack in its tracks. You're preventing the attacker from moving laterally, doing further damage across the network, across the environment, by containing the threat first of all. So host isolation is a really important response, and it's a containment action. But I would just mention that you should still have certain systems, whether they're systems from a trusted partner like Huntress or from yourselves, certain IPs that still have access to the isolated hosts. That way you can step through the remainder of the remediation plan, which might be killing processes that are running that are malicious, could be deleting files that are malware. And as you say, ultimately we may need to reset some credentials. So you want to think about, yes, locking the attacker out, but also maintaining access as a defender yourself, so you can do the rest of the cleanup, basically.
Oh, okay. Now here is even more interesting question. Now, when we see the Hollywood movies, when somebody hacks somebody, there is a big sign on the screen with the explanation point, like, "Hey, you're hacked." Like, that isn't the real world case. So, can you tell me maybe what are the early indicators defenders should look for on the endpoints?
Sure. So I would really just have a simple comparison between what's normal activity for this device, for this asset, what's the normal user activity versus something that an attacker might be doing to further their attack. So a couple of things I've already mentioned, actually. I would look for unusual things being installed or put in place, anything put in place within the registry, for example, that could be that persistent foothold I briefly mentioned earlier on. Because again, the attacker will probably look to do that pretty early on in their attack. But I'd also look for native tooling on the device being exploited for malicious purposes. So we call this lol bins in the industry sometimes, living off the land binaries, where the attacker will be aware of what's installed on the device, and things like PowerShell, for example, will be there and available to them. So they'll start to use that for, it could be their lateral movement, it could be their further reconnaissance. So look for that unusual activity that doesn't match the pattern of how the normal user with legitimate access behaves on that particular device. And also a couple of things like looking for a lot of files being touched at once. So typically when I'm using my laptop, right, I'm working on one file at a time. I'm a little bit slow, but an attacker is going to be accessing many files at once potentially, particularly if they are trying to put in place things like ransomware on the device. So just be aware of that as well. You want to be looking for signals, basically, of unusual activity first of all.
Phil, thank you so much. Now I have a much better picture of how the hacking is currently, how hackers are doing their hacks. So thank you so much for all the responses. Once again, you Huntress made it sound so simple, and even though the whole process is complex. Thank you so much. Now I would like to move forward to Action1. Now we notice how the hacking is done, but how can we put, just as Peter mentioned, those walls, how can we protect ourselves? And I would like to welcome Action1. Mustafa, Sebastian, hello, welcome.
Hi, very nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure is ours. Thank you so much. I am quite curious. Now, patching is one of the crucial, as from my standpoint, one of the crucial things that for the defense before an attack happens. Now, Mustafa, maybe can you tell me if attackers are using AI to find and exploit vulnerabilities faster than ever, why is vulnerability scanning and patching still neglected in many companies?
Yeah, that's a great question. The best way I can answer this is to say that many IT teams have various other priorities that they concentrate on first. So first of all, all IT teams are going to have internal tickets. They're going to have existing processes that maybe are not good enough with regards to patching, but also not having enough coverage in terms of their existing patching. Also staff leaving. So I mean, IT is definitely one of the shortest job cycles around. So constant staff leaving, which means that no one gets around to the patching in the first place.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Budget determines the cybersecurity.
Yeah, definitely. But changing processes related to patching can also take a long time and also need approval from management. So sometimes it requires bringing in new systems, and to bring in new systems, you need to test them, you need approval. That's going to take a long time as well. In addition to that, scanning tools. So, you asked why scanning might be neglected as well. Scanning tools can create noise, they can create issues with regards to maybe false positives. So sometimes people have had bad experiences with them and they don't trust them. Also, I mean, let's be realistic. People have got a lot of agents on their devices, so admins are getting fed up of all of these agents as well. I mean, but coming back to one of the original reasons for patching not being used well in the first place, changing old processes. So you may actually have a patching process in place, but it might be an old process, and a lot of IT managers, maybe they don't quite feel that they have the required responsibilities given to them, or they don't want to own the process. Owning the process requires you to step up and say, I'm going to make big changes to this. And if there has been this old process that is set in stone, a lot of the time people don't really feel the confidence that they need to change it. Patching at the end of the day is risky and disruptive. And it's disruptive because there are teams. Well, first of all, restart is an important part of the patching process when you're patching the operating system. And there are a lot of teams, and I've seen them, I've been involved in them, that create a lot of noise when you force them to have restarts. The ones that are in my head are corporate lawyers and dev teams. A lot of the time they create a lot of noise when you try to patch their systems. But the final thing I'll mention here is the number one reason why people are not doing enough patching is, number one, because a lot of people are doing the patching manually. And number two, they just don't have enough team members to go around and do the patching manually. So ultimately, I think there's, a lot of reasons why there really is not enough patching going around.
Something that you said piqued my interest. You said about all type of patching. So probably the new type of patching probably correlates with AI. What has AI changed?
Yeah, so obviously we've heard quite a bit mentioned by the guys before me that have mentioned about AI and hacking. But what I can contribute here is attackers can ultimately scan and analyze large networks much faster by using AI to do that. And the important information that is relevant to us is going to be that they get access through that scan to find the versions of the operating systems and applications that you have on your infrastructure. By the way, that's the same information that Action1 looks for on your system. So they're trying to look for the same information. But once you have access to that information, then you know what vulnerabilities are there to exploit. And obviously what we're trying to do is to get rid of those vulnerabilities by patching. But hackers can also generate working exploit code and, importantly, get access to easy to use tools with little manual effort. Remember, a lot of hackers are not that skilled. They just have point and click GUI tools, right? And there's a researcher online called Bruce Schneier. He says that today's state-of-the-art PhD thesis becomes tomorrow's point and click exploit tools for hobbyist garage hackers. Okay, so AI not only helps you to do things faster, but it also helps dumber people to do things faster. So the time between the release of vulnerabilities and the exploits gets shorter every year. And what that means is you have less time to deliver those patches. So you have to deliver those patches as soon as possible. And, just from personal experience, I can tell you that in the past year, some of the emails that I've received where I look at it for a while and think, is that real, or is that, has that been generated by some sort of AI tool? And certainly with regards to not my experience, but I've seen the images of real life AI imposition of new faces on top of people's. So it's going to be very difficult with regards to social engineering and some of the other things that I've mentioned.
I absolutely agree. It sounds scary that AI is automatically finding vulnerabilities. They are automatically doing scans, automatically adjusted to find that. So with that in mind, how does good patching looks like with a threat like AI?
Yeah, so it's a great question because I get it all the time. People are often wondering, what does good patching look like? What is best practice? And this is a kind of it depends answer, but the truth is that good patching is what is good for you. So your requirements, your infrastructure, and everyone has something slightly different. So what to patch, what not to patch, and when I mean what not to patch, sometimes you may have legacy systems or you have critical systems. And a lot of the time, this might be servers where people are very specific. We do not want these particular devices to be touched. But what we're talking about there are exceptions. Ultimately, what you need is full visibility of endpoints, on-site and remote. And visibility means that you need to know about the whole inventory, devices, applications, and also vulnerabilities. And that will give you a good idea of what actions you need to take. In addition, I mean, you want automations as much as possible. We don't want those manual processes. You need things being done without you being involved. And not only is it going to be you not sitting around monitoring for new patches, but also delivering the patches, executing the patches on the endpoints. With regards to best practice as well, you want to patch the operating system and the third-party applications. So let's say you patch those, that's fantastic, but also how frequently you patch them. So ideally, if there is nothing standing in your way, get them patched as soon as possible. For operating systems, although people know about Patch Tuesday, you also have the out-of-band patches, which are released outside of Patch Tuesday. Is there anything stopping you from delivering them as soon as possible? Ultimately, if you do have some certifications that you need to adhere to, probably you're going to need to prioritize patches based on risk severity levels, deliver the critical and important patches soon. So there's those to consider as well. But yeah, ultimately, automating as much as possible, I think, is the number one thing that you can do.
I have now a bold question. Hopefully you won't take it the wrong way, but can Action1 stand against AI?
So we certainly do our best, and ultimately what we can do is we can help to patch those vulnerabilities that are on your system. So AI and any other type of hacking, it needs vulnerabilities, and AI is being used to expose those vulnerabilities. And Action1 can help to remove them when the vendor of the software which has vulnerabilities releases patches for them. So if attackers automate exploitation, defenders have to automate remediation, and you can do that through the Action1 platform. So, we mentioned earlier how the average exploit time is going down. So what you want to have is to have a lower mean time to patch. So by delivering patches quicker, that mean time to patch will become lower. AI takes care of things without you needing to manually control everything. So reducing that time and allowing us to automate it as much as possible should help you there. And ultimately what we can do is we can eliminate that patch gap. So we can cover both the operating system and third-party applications. So we've got cloud native, so you don't need to kind of maintain an on-prem device, so reduce the amount of work that you might currently have. And also no need for a VPN, which is an important consideration for a lot of people because currently they might be dependent on something that needs a VPN. And ultimately, if there's no exploitable surface, then AI has nothing that it can hack into. So that's how you win the defense game, by using the speed of Action1 platform against the speed of AI. So, compared with a lot of the existing processes that people may be doing things, I think Action1 can certainly help to deliver those factors that I mentioned earlier.
The thing why we choose Action1 is one of the key reasons is because you're not using the VPN, and we consider it exactly right, because VPN has become today one of the weakest spots for the security. Mustafa, thank you so much. I would now move forward to Rafael. Rafael, hello, welcome.
Hi, Anita. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon to everybody on the call. So, Anita, I guess you have some questions, so I suggest.
Yes, indeed. As always, I have some questions for you. And for over 30 years, you are delivering on-point answers. Now, Rafael, since you're here for over 30 years, why is the traditional VPN such a powerful enabler for the attackers once they gain access? Why it has become such a weak point?
Well, as a starter, so the traditional VPN that we were used to for so many years is not broken. Absolutely not. It was
Okay.
designed for a different era. So the entire model of VPN is built on the idea that the network perimeter is a security boundary. And this is exactly what Peter earlier said with his castle, right? Once you are in, you're trusted. No further questions asked. For an attacker, of course, the jackpot, right? They don't need to break through dozens of defenses. They just need one valid credential, fish one employee, buy a leaked password on the dark web, and suddenly they have the same broad network access as that employee. And from there, and that's the point, from there they move laterally, often for weeks before anyone notices. AI makes it worse, much worse, because attackers now automate all those credential stuffing, spear phishing, and lateral movements at a scale and speed that simply wasn't possible before. And this was also already mentioned by the colleagues earlier during the session. So that's the reason why, Anita.
So, even though you said it good, it is good, but not for this time. It's good for yesterday. But many companies are still using VPN. Are they able maybe to better secure their VPN?
Look, let's put it that way. You can harden it, yes, by multi-factor authentication, split tunneling, stricter firewall rules, but actually you are fundamentally patching a broken architectural assumption. So what you're doing by hardening it or trying to harden it, you are actually adding locks to a door that was designed to be left open once somebody had the key. So actually, the honest answer to that question, are you able to secure better VPN? Actually, no, or at least not sufficiently. So every improvement, you layer onto the VPN is actually fighting against its own design. See, because the design is to have the key from the front door you're in. So you fight against that own design. So it's like, you also can put it that way, it's like putting a modern seatbelt in a car with no crumble zones. It's better than nothing, but you are solving actually the wrong problem.
Understand. I understand. That's actually a very good point. So, if VPN is not an option today, what is the today's solution?
So the today's solution is zero trust network access, ZNA, and the core principle flips the model entirely. Nothing is trusted by default, not even the internal network, because that is now the reason why companies, once they experience an attack or going down, because their whole internal network cannot be trusted anymore, right? So now that is the model. Nothing is trusted by default, not the internal network. Access is granted per session, per application, based on verified identity, device health, and context, but not network location. So it means, and you could already hear that from the colleagues earlier in the call, so instead of one flat network that everybody can roam freely, you get microsegments. So each resource is actually on its own protected island. And an attacker, because this we also have to mention, zero trust network is not going to avoid an attack. Forget that. You will be attacked one day, sooner or
Yeah,
later.
there is a good saying.
You
There
cannot
are
avoid.
companies that are attacked and that are still not attacked.
Exactly. So an attacker who compromises one endpoint gets exactly that one endpoint. So they can't pivot. They can't see the rest of the network. So it means the blast radius of a breach shrinks from the entire organization to one isolated segment. So instead of going the whole organization down, you will have a security, uh, team.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
I understand. So, thank you, Rafael. And can you give me just in quick notes? So, what are the features of Zero Trust Network?
So briefly, because you asked me to be short, so I will. So features of ZTNA. So first, identity-aware access. So every connection is authenticated per user, per device, per session. So no standing access. So it doesn't last forever once you have access. It's each time it will be tested. And of course, very, very important, micro-segmentation. So the network is divided into isolated segments at the network layer, and more specifically at layer 3. So don't confuse that with identity management, right? This is network layer at level 3.
That's a
So
good point.
the segment isn't explicitly permitted in a policy. The route simply doesn't exist. It's not blocked by a firewall. You just don't see it. It's invisible. So you breach one, but you can't reach none of the others. Very important.
I understand.
And then we come to the least privilege by design. So users only see the specific resources they need. So no lateral visibility. No way. And then, of course, device posture checks. So access is conditional on device health. That can be patch level, endpoint protection, compliance status, EDR status. Doesn't matter. The list is very long. And then, of course, implemented in CTNA is also the full session logging. So every connection is logged. Anomalies can be detected in real time. And even there, AI can play in our favor. AI not always has to play in the favor for the attackers. It can also play in our favor.
That sounds like like onion. Like there's multiple layers, and it definitely makes sense why it can be compared with VPN. Rafael, thank you so much for responding to my questions. Unfortunately, with all of you, I can talk and talk and talk, and I think 24 hours won't be enough. So for today, I would need to wrap up. Thank you all so much for talking. I want to save a few minutes for the attendees. Attendees, did you like the webinar? Do you have any questions? You probably have much better questions than me.
So, Anita, for the moment, I didn't get any question here in the Q&A and chat. Let's give it a moment and wait as the question come in. I'm pretty sure everyone was listening to the discussion here and your questions and answers. So, but I do have a question. And maybe in the meantime, your attendees, please put in your questions in the chat or the Q&A session, and we will answer them here and ask them live here in the session. So my question would be, maybe to be fair, I will point this question to Peter. Yeah. So what would you say? Now we heard about patching, EDR or MDR. We heard about zero trust network access. From your experience, they seem to be all very important, and I think the audience agrees. We need all of them. But if you have to choose, what would be the first step if you don't have anything? Where would you start?
That's a difficult question, because one measure will not basically fix everything. But at the end of the day, when you have open doors in your house, what you do is close doors. And if you have closed doors that are not locked, then you probably lock them. So patching is definitely one of the very first and important steps. It will prevent an attack, but it will not help you during an attack. So, and that's relatively simple to implement. A zero trust network will also help a lot, It won't help if systems are not patched, but it's pretty much, it's probably a bit more complex to set up. But at the end of the day, you need some police that's acting when something happens, and that's when Huntress comes into play. So everything is important, but customers are doing already some steps. So most of them do patching in some ways. But if every door is locked in your house and probably locked, it's more difficult for an intruder. So I think that's the first thing to do.
That's a very good answer, Peter. Thank you for that. I have the next question, and this is indeed now a question from the audience. Yeah. So it's about AI. So with the AI risk, what about uncontrolled adoption of AI tools in the enterprise environments, and risk of prompt injection when web searches are enabled? I don't know, anyone from you guys willing to take this question?
Yes, I want.
Raphael, then go ahead, please.
So it's an interesting point you're mentioning here, but let's put it in the right picture. So your concern is correct. So what you're worried about uncontrolled adoption of AI tools. But let's answer the following question first. Why employees in an enterprise are using those AI tools? Not because they want to do harm, no, they want to do their job right and faster than before. And because the enterprise is not providing the right tools, the employee is looking for tools he can use, and that are now exactly those AI tools. See it in that way. They don't want to do any harm, but of course, it's going to happen by using those external AI tools that, without paying attention, they share secret data, confidential data, etc., because they have to do, let's say, to create very urgently an Excel sheet from their boss, and it has to be done in 2 minutes because there is such an important meeting upcoming. Just no time to do it quickly. So they share that in the AI tool, they create their Excel sheet. Oops, please, boss happy. But in the meantime, a lot of things can be wrong. So what is actually the solution here? The enterprise has to provide the right tools to the employees. And what is that? That are controlled AI tools and control the flow of the uncontrolled AI. Everything can be done. And that is, I hope, at least a part of the answer to your question. So that's the reason.
It is, yeah. Not easy, but it's kind of a compromise in between. Right? I have another question. So where's AI most commonly used in hacking? In the production of malware, in search of security vulnerabilities, or is AI here it's also deployed on clients? So maybe this could be a good question for you, Phil. Where do you see AI most used for?
I think probably most commonly in the creation of malware, that's adaptive. AI has become very, very good, scarily good at writing code. And you just need to supply the prompt, right? And anybody can do that part of it. And then the AI will, these large language models will create the code. So I think the malware production, yes, that's probably the most common. But then I say second probably would be one of the other things that was mentioned in the question there. So actually identifying the vulnerabilities, the potential victims for whatever code or whatever exploit you have ready to go. So those would be 1 and 2 for my experience of these attacks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Phil. Then I would say the last question from the audience here I see is what are the most common mistakes of organization making when defending endpoints against AI-driven threats, and how can you avoid them? And maybe this one, Mustafa, I would pass over to you. So what are the most common mistakes?
I mean, this is not specifically an AI-related issue. It can be related to AI, but from the Action1 perspective, it's without a doubt leaving your devices unpatched, whether it's unpatched for a specific length of time, or that you just don't patch them often enough. And the moment that you do that, you're going to have problems that AI can exploit. So automate as much as possible. Also scan for vulnerabilities yourself, right? So let's say you're not patching, make sure that you're at least doing some vulnerability management, check out what vulnerabilities are present, what you can do against them. Patching is going to be one of the most effective ways of taking action, but there are manual fixes to that as well. But know what is on your infrastructure vulnerability-wise and try to patch as much as possible.
Mhm.
Perfect. Thank you, Mustafa, for this quick answer. And seeing we now running almost towards the end of our time, and I want to use that. And let me share my screen again. So I'm aware of that. I'm the only one here using actually slides. Yeah, and I'm sorry for that. We said like we wanted to make a slide-free presentation, and I think you guys did a fantastic job. Really, it was very interesting. And now I see even more audience questions coming in. But I would say we will answer all of them. We'll come back to you and reply to them. And we're happy to set up a call, a one-to-one consultation as well. And we're happy to get Huntress and Action1 into a call as well. So we definitely will follow up with you. So you will hear from us. We will also send out the recording. Basically, you will receive that. Everyone who registered for the session will receive it automatically just shortly after the session. I wanted to offer you also one thing, and as I said, we will follow up on that, but we offer our customers, first of all, a free health check of your system. So meaning what we can do is we can scan your environment for open vulnerabilities and identify systems, unpatched systems. So we can identify possible risk in your environment. Yeah? Free of charge, we give you that in a free consultation session. The second one is we will also be able to look into your environment. Is there maybe already some kind of malware somewhere sitting and you're not aware of it? Or an attacker is sitting somewhere on the system and it's waiting for starting his attack. Yeah? And if you believe it or not, and Huntress will be able to confirm that they already came in proof of concept across exactly those kind of scenarios, identifying malware and basically already infected systems while they were running a proof of concept. Yeah. So this is another thing we would like to offer to you. Yeah. Let us know if you're interested. And as I said, we will follow up with you anyway via email. So that was all from my side.
We
Thank
have
you very
one more
much.
question. And before we wrap up, I don't want to miss this out. So the question is, this is a difficult topic. I believe AI agents should not reach the internet, as seen with Gemini, got tricked by sending emails where Gemini read it with prompt instructions in while the text or base 64 encoded in emojis. Who would like to answer that?
So I can take that one.
Absolutely.
So that concern is absolutely correct, right? So but it comes a little bit back to the previous question, because we cannot control those AI agents. So if you're concerned about privacy and controlling agent, you can really create your own AI agent with local LLMs with no access to the internet whatsoever. And it's going to do for you exactly the same, except if you use a local agent with a local LLM, it will not be able to order a hamburger for you. that is not possible.
Mhm.
That is, for instance, but just between brackets, that is also one of the projects I'm working on, exactly that topic, local LLMs.
Mhm. Amazing. If we don't have any other questions, guys, I think that would be all. Hopefully you like the webinar. Feel free to reach us out also through the mail. We want to hear your opinion because we are planning on much more. And all of your opinions quite shape our path in organizing those webinars. Again, a huge thank to Huntress, to Action1, and of course to Rafael and Peter. Was it difficult, guys, to answer those questions?
Extreme.
Oh, right, wonderful.
We love challenges.
Of
We
course, that's
avoid
why we
them.
work in IT.
No, it was absolutely awesome.
Amazing. Well, thank you again, everybody who attended, and up until next time. And just as Uli mentioned, if you want a one-on-one brainstorm session like this, there is a link in the chat, and we will see us very soon. Until then, have a great day and be safe and secure. Watch out for the AI, and we are going to talk very soon. Have a good day and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.